How do you feel about item pickup radius heading into PoE 2?
Oh my god, what an insane question.
I am of the opinion that we will need to increase pickup radius.
Let's go. That's so good.
Argument by how much by.
It has to happen without if phasing's not in the game. I think it should be like 1/3 of a screen.
Find a solution to that. It's actually
like 20, 30 like units, 2 to 3 metries.
Something to
yeah, why couldn't you?
If the client hasn't sent a packet to the server for some very short amount of time, pause the instance in single player.
Yes.
Whoa.
Hold up.
Wait, what's that face mean? Just say yes. Don't stop making excuses. Stop making excuses and just fucking do it. Let's go.
Because you can pause the game any.
We're all fucking salivating.
Yeah, it's super.
The past 5 minutes have basically been flaming PoE1's current endgame,
so I was like really excited
where you can just walk through monsters and they can't stop you. And
actually,
I feel like pushiness is like this whole thing is gonna feel clunky compared to phasing. Like this is very much a backwards in terms of like player quality of life and feel to make the world feel more dangerous.
Jump in with some
1000x.
But with PoE 2,
1000x. 1000x. That's 10 million% more. 100 trillion% more. 1000x. It's like comparing like a juiced like person farming P16 magic find like fucking fub gun to like some guy that's like playing his own home cooked build, clicking random points on the atlas, just like doesn't even like trade much, just like chilling easily 100,000x. Why are y'all saying Quinn? Quinn plays self-found. Why are you saying Quinn? Guys, Quinn is not bad at the game. What the fuck? Bet Quinn's killed more Ubers in self-found hardcore than everyone that just said Quinn. While playing builds that are fucking, good.
Back. And I like that.
Yo, we need to talk about Magic Find, right? And he might go into this afterwards, but before I hear what he says, I want to talk about it a bit, okay? The idea of Magic Find is you lower your character's power level and get more loot for it. It's an alternative way of scaling rewards, and this on its own is fine. It can be good. And then a different way of scaling rewards is making the content harder. A problem exists where we have things in the game like Headhunter and Mirrors, so that certain builds are so broken, like T-Shots, so unbalanced, that you only need 2 items to do the hardest content in the game. Nothing can stand in front of you and survive. You one-shot everything with ease. And so then the idea of all the other items reducing your power level is irrelevant, because you one-shot everything. It doesn't matter. And that's a problem. Like Mirbo, Headhunter is all you need. And that's not good.
It has like having some other element. It just means that there's another factor to consider in your character build, and I guess that
especially when there's no downside for failing, right? Like when you're allowed to die, it doesn't matter if your character's bad and you die every now and then. It doesn't matter. Like you just okay, hit respawn, get more loot, hit respawn. The problem is something that Rory and Jonathan just talked about like a few minutes ago. Basically, magic finding low tier content should not be better than no magic find and higher tier content. Like right now, like T16 magic find is better than T7 magic find, but T7 magic find is better than everything else that's not magic find, pretty much, and that's the problem.
Honestly, so this particular area, like we will have to go and revisit those equations and do stuff, but I have to say it's not something we've like yet done the balance for.
Right.
I actually then also like
that's been such a common response across a lot of these interviews where it's like, yeah, it's like, I mean, we definitely like see that as like a problem, but like we haven't like really solved it yet, and it's like the beta's in fucking 5 months now. Like that's so common. So many different like mechanics and like things are just like, yeah, like we're talking about it. We're talking about it. It's like TikTok.
There's nothing technically preventing reservation being a thing. We just have to be really of life and mana, that is, but we just have to be really careful that we don't accidentally make it again so that the most useful thing to do is that again, if you know what I mean. Like
reserving mana is like always going to be, it's one of those things where it's not like life where more mana is always inherently better. If you have enough mana to cast your skill, reserving any excess is always just beneficial. So as long as it's allowed, it's always going to be like a kind of a problem because it'll be seen as like mandatory, just like it already is in PoE1. One thing I really hope isn't a problem when it comes to mana. I hope it's not, and life as well. I hope sustain is not very overly reliant on flasks, which is that's how it is in like the early game of Path of Exile 1, and that's how it looked in the early game of Path of Exile 2 as well. And of course in PoE1, like we get all kinds of tools to solve that in the end game, and I hope PoE2 has similar ways to make long-term, like, you know, solving your mana with like real sustain that isn't like ridiculous to invest in.
At least from an early stage, to say I want to just go block, unless you're like Necromancer that has like a cheap way of getting there. It very much is, you have your armor evasion, or would you rather have like certain classes would specialize, or should there be a broader range that you can choose from the start?
The thing that Nugi is kind of getting at here is really a problem with block itself in PoE1. Block as a mechanic is like, I think they kind of view it as like a balance issue, because when you have too much of it, it's actually just absurd. But the ways you can get block are extremely imbalanced. Like speccing into it on the passive tree feels so fucking awful. It is just, it's the most garbage thing to spec into. It feels like trash. It's like 2%, 2%, 2%. It's atrocious. Like nothing about it is like satisfying to spec into. And then there's certain sources like Tempest Shield and like Bone Offering that can just like for free just fucking give you massive amounts of block that feel fine to use. But like actually like clicking the points in the tree, like it like you have 123 passive points and you want one of them to say 2% chance to block attack damage. Like no, I don't want that at all. And there's like some places on like the gear where you can get it, but just thinking about, for my build, I want to get, like, I want to make half of all attacks not hit me. Grace is just way better than investing in block could ever be. Like, just run Grace and then just like spec damage nodes to make up for the fact that you are now using a defensive aura, and it's just going to be better. Unless you have some sort of recovery on block. But usually with that, you just use glancing blows, and just by wearing a shield and glancing, you're almost already glancing capped. Yeah, like the 100% block stuff exists this league, but you know, I feel like they're probably gonna maybe put a cap on block now that it's actually possible to reach block cap. It's never been possible before this league, I don't think, to reach 100%. It's definitely not intended that you can get 100%. It just kind of happened.
It's definitely a thing of like how you recover energy shield is a significantly more controlled thing where you're not expecting passive energy shield regen all the time. It's not like life where you can just expect to get constant amounts of it back. It's a barrier and a buffer that is not reliable 100% of the time.
It sounds like ES is going to be like the shields like Bastion.
Shenanigans available.
But I'm doing.
Like, he made it sound like ES is going to be like Bastion of Elements, or like the Cold Aegis from like the shields. Ward? Not like Ward. Because Ward has the weird mechanic where, like, if you have 1,000 Ward and you get hit for 1, you lose all of your Ward. It's all gone, right? Like that's the whole point. But with Bastions, they're basically just like shields that can be fully depleted, and then they return over time, and if like you don't get hit for like 2 seconds, it'll like heal back to full.
And you're gonna have that effect of what was at the time called smart loot, which I don't know if it's still the case. So
The
seeing
thing that
for
Chris,
Q2 would be
the
great.
thing that is called smart drops, which from back in the D3 days, is something we very much don't want to do, which was tailoring the gear that drops to the character you're playing.
Right.
And that we do not like.
I think Rise is more alluding to Heist. I don't know if current Heist uses the same formula. It felt a bit weaker in my experience, but like old Heist Enchanted Armaments used a smart loot system that basically would give an item synergistic mods of high values. So it would, you'd be pretty likely to find things like +1 lightning with T1 lightning dispels and cast speed and lightning damage. It's like thematic loot. Talisman's had it as well for a little bit. Loot 2.0, yeah, something like that. It's something that I think definitely was a bit of a missed potential. I've always felt that if my ideal base drops on the ground as a rare item, I should be excited. I should want to pick it up. I should want to loot it, and it shouldn't just be the same as an alchemy orb. It should be meaningful, but it doesn't. Except like day one sell found. Day one sell found it does, but like after that, like never. Like you're just not gonna get like anything like that. So like if the game like if PoE 1 just dropped like 10 times less rare items, but they use like something similar to like the heist formula for like being more likely to roll higher tier mods, more likely to roll mods that are considered good and synergistic, then like I'd happily fucking loot off the ground and pick it up, but that's just not how like PoE 1 crafting works. Because the tools we have for crafting gear are so powerful and abundant, and just so much better than just using an orb of alchemy, like you're never gonna like care. So they remove scouring orbs. They talked about it a little bit in the part of the interview that we already watched live. But like map rolling is gonna be fucking weird in PoE 2. Like using an alchemy on a map is basically the same as valing it. I like kind of. Because like say it's the same mods as PoE 1. You alch a map and it rolls like -12 max, no regen. It's like, are you gonna start trying to chaos orb that to like remove both of those mods? Like, I doubt it. You can't scour it; it's gone. So like, unless chaos orbs are absurdly fucking abundant, that map is bricked. It's gone. It's effectively not like it's probably not worth the chaos that it would take to fix it. And in the past, they did remove certain map mods from the game that used to exist because they just bricked too many builds. Like Blood Magic used to be a map mod. Like Chaos Damage Over Time used to be a map mod. Like they removed these because they were bad. And I think the PoE 2 map rolling system with the currency, like a lot of PoE 1 map mods are bad with the PoE 2 map rolling system. Unless Chaos is extremely abundant, but I feel like it's not going to be. I don't think we're going to have thousands of Chaos like we do right now. Because like a Chaos Orb in PoE 2 is more like an Annul and an Exalt. And I think everything's going to be toned down a bit to the point where like, I don't know. Like maybe if they're going to be abundant, I hope they are abundant because Annul Exalt crafting is fun. So I hope the new crystals are abundant, but I really, like, I feel like if you alch a map and it rolls like 2 or 3 mods that are bricks that you can't run, like no regen, brick certain builds, slow regen, brick certain builds, minus max might be just absurdly ridiculous. Maybe there's new ones that are also bricks. Like if you roll like 2 or 3 brick mods, I feel like you're just gonna like 5-1 the map or something. We'll see.
That's a good follow.
It just kind of depends because like I mean in modern PoE, you don't give a fuck. Like okay, a map's gone, I don't care. I drop 20 maps per map. It doesn't matter at all. Like there's I'm genuinely considering in certain Magify strategies to not alch maps. You chisel them and you val them. And if they go 8 mods, you run them. If they don't, you don't. But like that's not how Path of Exile map drops have worked until very recently. Like for the majority of the game, map sustain was a challenge you had to overcome. So like the idea of not running a map that you had wasn't a thing. And I kind of expect in PoE 2 it's going to be more like the way it used to be. It's going to be more like old sustain, I think.
Yeah, it is also going to be that like if you have an item that's 95% of the way there, it should be that you keep working on that item rather than like actually let's just start from scratch because I've got a higher chance to like bring it from a base type back up to that point.
That can be dependent a little bit, I think, on the situation. That's
I-
more iffy of a.
I don't think that
I think, but
It's going to be a thing ever.
there's going to be a lot more to talk about items. Like
I think the only time like that was really a thing was like with like Bleak 13 Harvest. So like right now, if you have an item that's like T1 life, 14 suppression, double 48 res, and you're like trying to get like unless you have a fracture prefix, if you're trying to get perfect double prefixes, it's like not possible without extraordinary investment. To the point where you almost always would just settle. Like trying to just get like, T1 Flat Fizz and like hybrid life on gloves or something, for example, or like without locks or fractures, like you're fucking doomed. You're always just going to sell and recraft until you eventually win. Shut the Exalt, yep, and win.
In current state of Path of Exile, the best items can't really drop because of the nature of things like influence modifiers and stuff like that that are only available through crafting. Is that something you'd be shifting away from with PoE 2, I imagine?
I think this idea, this influence idea, is something that's been repeated a lot, both by community members and by Triple G employees as well, about like influence kind of plaguing the drop system, making it so like you can never have the best stuff on the ground. But I feel like that's always been like almost like I don't know if a smokescreen is the right term, but it's not like, even if influence wasn't on the game, that wouldn't really change anything. Like just go into the fucking calculator and just click T1 suppression, T1 accuracy, T1 attack speed, T1 life, and click Chaos Orb, and just like let it tell you the odds of getting that. I'm gonna make up a number right now and say it's gonna be about 400,000 Chaos Orbs. Let's check. 4.2 million. Oh shit. Ah shit. I was off by 10x. Now here's the thing. Making this item is not hard. It's not hard to make this item. This is super fucking easy. You buy an accuracy fracture, you click deafening essences, probably about 70 of these to get T1 suppression, and then you Eldritch Exalt the prefixes for life. It's super fucking easy to make this item. Super easy to make this item. And it's 4.2 million Chaos Orbs average. The odds of picking it up off the ground and IDing it is 0. It's never going to happen. Which is why the new Chaos Orb is like kind of the idea for that. It's like, well, obviously you would never ID this on the ground. No matter how long you played, you would die. Like, this would be like trying to find like the D4 like super rare uniques before they fixed it. Like you would never find it. You would die. But maybe getting life and attack speed might happen on the ground. That might happen. And then you hit a Chaos Orb and it removes like 2 to 4 fucking lightning damage to attacks and adds one of these. That might happen. That could be fun. I really fucking hope the new Chaos Orb in PoE 2 is very common. Like, I hope I find Chaos Orbs at about the same frequency as finding items that I want to Chaos Orb. And not like just like if the accessibility of Chaos Orbs is anything close to the current accessibility of 1 Annul plus 1 Exalt, that's going to be way too rare. Like it's really fun crafting, and I want to use it, and I hope it's common. I really hope it is.
Yes, the key thing is basically when you look at an item, it should be, what could this turn into? Like what steps can I take to make this awesome is the primary thing you should be thinking about it.
So people are talking about like Last Epoch and stuff, and the idea of like drop only mods. I think Last Epoch's crafting is not really, at least, so like there's been a lot of changes to that game since I played it. It was like fucking 3 years ago now that I played it. There was a lot of changes, but when I played it, you would just kill monsters and hope the thing you want dropped, and then you would like take it to a vendor and click a button that would say 100%, and then it would go to 90%, and then 80%, and then 70%, and then 60% until it eventually stopped upgrading. And that is not interesting or exciting or cool, or it's bland. It's nothing compared to PoE crafting. And I definitely wouldn't want that in PoE. The idea of drop only mods, like things can only come from the ground, like T1 mods being drop only, I would not want. I don't think. Like certain things like incursion mods where it's like specific mods that are unique that come from certain mechanics, like delve mods, incursion mods, those can be cool. Those can be interesting. T1 suppression being drop only and impossible to add with the Chaos Orb or an Exalted Orb would be bad. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure, like someone up here said, like Last Epoch's been changed a lot since I played it. Like it's the version that I played probably is like not even a thing anymore. Like that was like 3 years ago. Isn't that game full releasing soon? Next month? Oh shit, that's gonna be during Gauntlet. That's gonna, maybe it'll be after. We'll see. A recap of this. Basically, yeah, totems are bad. The reason why totems are bad is because they make you do like fucking 65% more damage or something when you have both down with Panopticon. So like, they're effectively an 8 link instead of a 6 link. They're so powerful, you have to use them. And they die. Investing in totem defense can help a little bit, but mainly they die. They just die. and it's annoying. And I made a unique to make this less of a problem with the lingering buff, which then also got converted into a mastery in game because it's just good, and it's good, and that helps a little bit. But in the end, like, still, you're like, temporary buffs with no cooldown should not be that powerful. Like, for example, I think Val War Chief is totally fine. Like I have no problems with that. It's a cooldown based totem that follows you around with Leap Slam, lasts a long time, and is fucking invulnerable. There's nothing in the game that can kill that totem. Like, if you have 10 at Zeri's all double damage from that totem, he doesn't care. He's got like 9 million HP and takes 80% less damage. Like, he doesn't give a fuck. So you don't have to deal with the buff dying or like with maintaining it, because you can't maintain it. It's temporary. It has a Val Soul cost, so it doesn't feel bad to press because it's powerful, temporary, and it lasts a long time. It doesn't die. Like, it's great. You press it when you can and you're happy. But with the normal totems, you press them always. They always die. You have to think about where you press. Like, you have to put them in places where they're far enough away that they're not actually hitting the boss, because then they'll die to like boss abilities, but not too far away to where they're not active, because they have a distance requirement. If you're too far away, they stop buffing you and they stop attacking. So you have to like think about where you're putting them, and then they still die to some random fucking stray projectile because they have 1 HP and everything sucks. They're awful, but they're powerful, so you have to use them. And gem sockets in PoE 1 are so restrictive, especially for melee. Well, like, just you have to get like 4 extra sockets for that, or 3 at least. Like, it's a lot. Val War Chief good, base War Chief and Totem bad.